Hi, everybody, and welcome to our second table talk / interview for our upcoming game, The Scales Above. Before we get started with that, I'd like to say thank you very much to HeroForge, who does custom minis and recently finished an amazing Kickstarter to get 3D printed color miniatures. I believe they're coming out of beta with that on the 29th of September for both their colored and their token maker. You'll have to check on that. I got the email the other day at work. I was like, this looks cool. I didn't actually read enough into it. But so don't hold it against me if I'm wrong. We'll show you some cool stuff anyway. We'll have some videos coming out pretty soon showcasing some of that as well in the next, hopefully, week. Also, a massive thanks to Dungeon Fog for sponsoring us. If you want a map making program, you can head over to dungeonfog.com. Or check out the panels below. They have an awesome product which we'll be using quite a lot in this campaign. With the thank yous out the way. No, there's one more thank you, Bree. Thank you, Bree, again for the amazing art.
Thank you, Bree. Oh my god,
she is an absolute gem. I messaged her the other day at about 11 o'clock at night. I was like, can you get me about 60 images done in 2 days? And she was like, oh god, I'll try. And then about 36 hours later, she's like, here you go, it's done. I was like, what is wrong with you? So she's amazing, great artist. Check her out. We do have her in the panels below, and you'll be seeing some of her art in the stream. So today with us, we have Shannon and Sean from ParadiceRPG to talk about their characters. And I'm also going to be answering a few questions to do with my homebrew world. So stick around, ask questions, and I'll make sure that by the end of the stream they're answered. Before we start with those, we're going to go through all the questions that have been asked on our Discord about who these people are and what they're doing. Why don't, between you can decide who talks. You tell us about your game at Paradise to start with.
Go for it, DM.
I mean, you're the community manager.
Yeah, I know, but like it's your world.
Push responsibility back and forward. Who actually wants to do it?
Shannon, could you give me a quick intro? Just tell them all a little bit about Paradise.
Sure, I'll do that. You're still telling about the story. All right, so hi everybody. My name is Shannon, and you can find me on Twitter at sroby25. You can also find me on Monday nights at ParadiceRPG, where I play my brooding fireball of a rogue named Scarlet. And we are creeping up on our 1-year anniversary, which is happening in like a week and a half, which is incredible. We're going to have a mega giveaway happening. Check out our Twitter, which is at ParadiceRPG, spelled PARADICE, like the dice you roll. And now Sean's going to tell you about his homebrew world and the story.
Briefly.
Okay, Mr. 20-minute recaps.
Shush. Yes. So yeah, we play every Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Paradise RPG channel, where we play in my homebrew world Aradun, which the adventure they're on currently is a wide expanding campaign. That's a long-term campaign, 1 through 20 kind of style, Critical Role-esque, where the main idea so far is it's a little eldritch horror-y, as they are trying to solve a mystery surrounding the Pallid Mask. So check us out on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're there, then check out some of our other shows that happen throughout the week.
Awesome. I also usually like to run that long form Critical Role-esque style campaign. This one will be a little bit tighter, but should still run for a fair few months, so you can really feel out the characters and get to know them all. But we're going to be doing a little bit of that today. So firstly, to do with you two. We'll start with every question. I'll go Shannon, then Sean, just to make it easier. And because one's on the left and right of my screen, it's like reading a book. I'm tired. We're making lots of dumb comments today, which is why I have the energy drink. How long have you been playing D&D?
So I've been playing for about 2.5 years. I think is that right? When we started our campaign?
It'll be 3 years for you next June.
Next June, yeah. Okay, so about 2.5 years. And it's just, I fell in love with the game right away. Sean was the one that introduced me to the game. We have a home campaign that's been going for about 2.5 years. And it's on another continent and in another timeline. of Aradune. And it's really cool to see the pieces that are dropped into the stream that I know about from our home campaign. And it's just like they're little Easter eggs, and it's just so cool. So I'm relatively new to the TTRPG space, but I can't get enough of it.
All right, Sean?
Yeah, I haven't played much longer than Shannon though. So someone introduced it to me, D&D to me, about a year before I started my own campaign with Shannon. I was playing maybe a little bit longer than that. So I've probably been playing close to 4 years. And I just played in a very small game that isn't really going on anymore, actually. And at a point I was just like, well, I'm going to start my own campaign. Who are my friends? And then my friends were like, well, because Shannon's husband is one of my best friends from high school. And he was like, oh, well, Shannon wants to play too. And I'm like, oh, great. And now Shannon and me are hang out more than I hang out with him. But yeah, I've been playing for about 4 years now, but I've always been into, RPGs for a while before that, and role playing within those RPGs. I got my role playing start, weirdly enough, on World of Warcraft on their role playing channels, which led me to the clear next direction of going full blown D&D.
Okay. So what do you like most about D&D? What drew you to it?
The performance aspect of it, role playing all the way. That is my favorite part of the game. I love exploring emotions. I love acting out scenes, especially with my friends. And, I love talking about something beforehand and saying, all right, let's try this. If we can get this to happen in the scene, that'll be really cool. And, 9 times out of 10, it's even better than we had planned or imagined it. And my favorite ones are when we don't talk about it beforehand and something just amazing happens. And so, yeah, performing, acting, the whole thing, that's my favorite part about D&D.
Okay, I have a real quick question for you, Shannon, because there's no sign. Are they blue light glasses, or are they actually...
They are blue light glasses, yes.
So, I think they're exact same as these.
Oh my God!
Like,
are we twins?
Same.
Yeah. Oh, did you get them on Amazon?
I don't know. They're my girlfriend's, and she's like, what are these? They help your eyes.
Yes, that is exactly what they are. Yep. I've been staring at my computer all day teaching first grade, so I need to not be. I need these.
Yeah, important D&D question, that one.
Yep, very important.
Sean.
Yes, so similar to Shannon, I do like the performance side of it, but what really drew me to D&D was world building. Just the very idea of being able to dungeon master and explore your own world and create new things. My background is in storytelling, and it's what I went to school for. And I just loved the idea of collaborating on a story, but also being able to share the things that I create with other people. And through that ultimately leads to the acting and performance and improv side of it, which is always fun. And also I'm a fan of combat, It's okay to say that. I'm a fan of combat.
You're also a fan of the terrain that you get to build when we do combat.
Yeah. I also like making things.
I've been into Warhammer for years. You can see some of my shoulder. So if I was ever to play a sci-fi game, I have so much. I have enough terrain to fill maybe 5 or 6 6x4 foot tables.
Nice.
So it's just I can just new stuff every week. Go nuts.
All of the things.
Yeah. My camera is sponsored by Mod Podge.
Right. So now to your characters. So what class and species are you playing, and why?
So I am playing a human barbarian fighter. And she's basically, she's our tank, and she's awesome. I love her already. I love everything about her. I love her personality. I love her, just her hugeness, I don't know. Yep. She's big. That's all you really need to know about her. She's big and she's sweet.
Yes, that sums her up pretty succinctly, actually. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, so I play a star elf chronomancer. So Star Elf is one of Nova's homebrew races that have a very fun quirk where they can get deeply ethereally distracted by the night sky. So that'll be a very interesting aspect of the character. But he is very much, he's an old elf, not necessarily in appearance, but in attitude for sure. And yeah, I'm very excited to explore him. But Star Elf Chronomancer, some of that fun Wild Mount time magic.
You're sort of the first person on the Eastern continent to discover this style of magic. There's another continent which we don't play in it because I've not even started really writing it in the East, where it was meant to be kind of like that's mostly what they use is bending time, and they're well more advanced. So they're just walking around with, like energy weapons, and there's this other side with like, I have a sharp stick, let's fight. So one day they'll cross and we'll see how that works.
For sure.
Yeah, okay. Can you tell me more about the personality of your character apart from just sweet?
Yeah. Sloane is, she's curious. She's curious about a lot of things. And she is, I think we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get to stats and stuff, but she's very simple. And she doesn't talk a lot, but she observes. She's an observer for sure. And when she does speak, there's a lot of thought behind it. She asks a lot of questions. And yeah, so she looks terrifying, and she can be very terrifying, but at the same time, she wants to know about the world because she's only been one place before.
Okay. And Sean?
Yeah, Auric is, something that when going into this, I really wanted to emphasize with the character and explore was playing a character who's fundamentally immortal as accurately as possible as I think that might be in real life. Or at the very least, just sort of leaning into that more, because we often play immortal characters and it's just like, they're just normal characters, but happen to be 200 years old. And we play that way. So he takes his time is a good way to put it. He likes to explore all his options. He likes to forget a little bit that time is even passing, and things 10 minutes might seem like a second to him. And the party might be engaged entirely in something else, and he's still sitting there thinking about, breakfast. Or, he might be the one who gets really fixated on a single thing and thinking, well, we have all the time in the world. Why wouldn't I spend all the time I can on solving this puzzle? So in that sense, he's very difficult and a bit hard-headed in that sense, and not as sensitive to his mortal compatriots.
Do either of you watch the YouTube channel Overly Sarcastic Productions?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't.
They have there's two, there's like red and blue. Blue does all like history stuff, and red does like pop culture and literary techniques and that sort of thing. She has done a video on immortal characters and how, they sort of will attach to a family sometimes because like, oh, you look close enough to me, I'm 2,000 years old, you kind of, and eventually when people start changing enough, they're like, you are not grandma. What's happened here? So, yeah, I would, if you're playing an immortal character, highly recommend watching that.
I'll definitely take a look at that, because definitely a part of Auric is like keeping people around as reminders of like, this is the real world. These are people who move about it in normal ways. But I also watched, what was it? I forgot the channel. What is it? I don't remember the name of the channel, but they had a whole thing on immortality and why you wouldn't want to be an immortal person, essentially. And I just thought it was funny to watch it. What is the channel? It's the science.
There's a trope with immortality, which is the longer you live, the more likely you are to become trapped somewhere for eternity.
It's part of the backstory of how Sloan and
Oric met. Yeah.
He might have been trapped in a situation when she meets him.
And if she hadn't shown up, he'd still be there.
I think what was I gonna say? My brain is just like, I think just white noise. Like, good job, me. I know because I'm just watching the chat go past. The good thing about the overly sarcastic production thing is that I'm pretty sure Red plays D&D because she references it all the time. So really, really good to watch when she like drops in little things with that. Right, I'm gonna move on to the next question. And this one will most likely have art revealed on the stream for everyone. So we have, what did you draw your inspiration from?
Sloane's inspiration. There she is. Oh, I love her so much. Sloane's inspiration, a lot of it actually came from Yasha, from Critical Role. I am a huge critter and I love all the stories that are on there. And I actually decided on her accent first and then kind of built out from there. I knew that I wanted to do a Nordic accent. I wanted to try that out because I'd never done it before. And then she just was kind of built from there. I don't know how much I can talk about. I don't want to tell her entire story, but like, I knew once I had the accent, I knew where I wanted her to come from and I knew what I wanted her to look like. And then I was like, oh crap, I'm basically creating Yasha. But I really like her story and I admire her character. So Sloane's personality is a bit based off of Yasha. But it's there obviously there'll be differences because I'm playing Sloane. Look at her. I love her so much. Thank you, Bree.
Sean, what about you? Where's your inspiration from?
So a lot of Oric's inspiration comes from, since he's supposed to be this sort of smart individual, intellectual who is a bit insensitive to the folks around him based on just being distracted and not paying attention to their idiosyncrasies. The origins of Oric's character really came from Sherlock Holmes. A lot of Sherlock Holmes in there, and just sort of the obsession with the game and solving puzzles and solving different little tricks and this and there. And then kind of adding into the dynamic of that is a little bit of his character is drawn from, not to the extent of this character, but sort of somewhere in between these two. So Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. So bringing in a little bit of that, like, in terms of, I'd say, Sherlock's functional sociopathy, in the sense of like just his emotional cues are very subtle, and really only if you know him well, you can see when he is emotional, and he is, thinks highly logically, but at the same time, he develops these close relationships as part of that found family, or as we've said before, Nova menagerie of companions that help him keep connected to the world around him, since he really is originally from the Fae and not really of the material plane.
Yeah. When it comes to your emotional attachments, I'll note that in our pre-campaign sessions, you've already lost your familiar once, and it's like, I'll get another one. Like,
that was Gladstone number 78.
That's right. I forgot you named it Gladstone.
Like, I think you summoned it in like a poison effect, and it was just like, I'm here, Master Dead, and just was gone, like instantly.
Immediate. It was only around for 6 seconds.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. So effectively, you treat that thing like a canary. It's just like, is this dangerous?
For
Yes.
sure.
Don't go that way.
Yeah. Don't go back.
Much less a scout like Frumpkin or anything like that. In Critical Role. Very much canary in a cage. That couldn't have put it better.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this question's always interesting. Are we using any homebrew for this?
No, none at all.
No, not at all. No. Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
What about you, Sean?
Well, yeah, I mean the race or the species that Oric is, Star Elf, is homebrew, unique to Nova. That I remember when he described it to me, I was immediately like, yes, I will play that. Because I mean, even looking at the original documents he sent us, I was like, all right, I'm thinking of playing an elf in this campaign. I've never actually really played an elf before that thoroughly. So I was excited to do that. And then when he described the Star Elves as these sort of, nomads from the Fae who have this unique quality and obsession with the void and the stars and beyond, it started to connect with what I already wanted to start thinking about for the character. So I was absolutely gung-ho and down for whatever Nova had waiting for me in the background of this homebrew style. And then, of course, there's a menagerie and a whole lot of homebrew that Nova will be bringing to this game that'll be very exciting for us as players.
Yeah.
So to run through some of the homebrew, like pretty quick, we have a hero point system, which is sort of stolen from old Fantasy Flight games like Dark Heresy and Rogue Trader, which is pretty much you can roll a dice you can choose to succeed on a skill check before you roll just by spending your hero point. You get one and it refreshes at the start of every session, not day or short rest session. Or you can, after you've already made the roll, be like, oh, I kind of wanted to pass that. Can I re-roll? And you can use that hero point to do it. Other than that, you can burn, which means it doesn't come back at all ever, your hero point to do things like, I'm dead. Can I not be dead? Can I be 1 point instead? Or, I go, hey, look, this effect has happened to you. You had an arm ripped off. I'd like to burn my hero point to not have that happen. Can it just be a little bit damaged? That sort of stuff. I've also allowed it to be used offensively, not just defensively, should you make up a really cool thing. So the example I give, which is just a generic kind of boring one, but it's still there, is say you're fighting a 40-foot tall Cyclops and its eye is its weak point and you cannot get up there because you're a fighter. You say, can I find a way to jump up there and slash its eye in this turn? Whether that means I jump off its knee or whatever. So I've gone, cool, yep, you can burn your point to do that. If they accept, I will either allow them to describe, or if they don't describe it, I will say something like, as it lifts up its club to swing again, you jump on the club, springboard off it, and land on its face and just stab it in the eye. You count as grappling its head, so you're not just going to fall off, and you can now make attacks just constantly at its face. But that's your point gone. After you've done it, that's it. So use it wisely. Other than that, we have a critical table. Yeah, exactly. We have a critical table, which is once you get into rolling death saving throws, if you start getting attacked, you can have things like arms lopped off or legs chopped off or different effects. You'll see them as we go. There is a bunch of races. They all have magical weapons, which I've made. The entire world is homebrew. I'm going to take the Mythic Odysseys of Theros piety system and transplant it onto my gods with new effects and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff there to really go through. I could spend the whole day just talking about the homebrew, so I'll just leave it at that. Sure.
Well, and something that you and I homebrewed, Nova, was Sloane's Rage. And I'm really, really excited to test that out because that's going to have some really cool effects. Yeah.
Which I will probably go through with you once more before we start.
Yes,
the campaign.
Please.
Cool.
I also like that we are slowly but surely starting to homebrew a few Dunamancy things to sort of work with your homebrew world's magic system.
Yeah, because you've kind of gone, I know this is a spell and I have access to these energies. Can I replicate this with this? And certain things you just can't, right? Like they're just not going to work. Like it'd be really hard to get directional flight with Dunamancy. You could slow fall by changing time so that but you can't be like, I now want to move forward in space. Unless you're going to be creating friggin' black holes opening and closing.
It would cost so much power to just slowly be like, I'm creating black holes everywhere to just slowly pull me across the battlefield.
And everyone else on these is like, oh god, just like flying away as they
destroying everything. So I can move 60 feet.
Yeah, I want to fly through the city. I accidentally destroy the city in the process. Yeah. So that sort of stuff. Okay. Does your characters use magic or weapons? What are they using, and why did you choose that?
Sloan is using a huge Kopesh that we Nova and I kind of came up with together. More Nova, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty. Yeah, I want that. And I wanted it because I really like to deal damage in combat. I played a fighter, think like right as soon as I had started playing D&D, and I was like, oh my God, I can do how much damage? And I just was like, yeah, I want to be.
She was playing a ranger before that.
Yep. So I just wanted to see how much I could do in a round, and Sloan's pretty deadly. I just need to remember to use all the things. I made myself a cheat sheet because there's so many things.
You just believe with fighters, barbarians, there's a couple others. There's not a whole lot of abilities. You just need to make sure you tick the boxes in the right order so that you activate each thing, and then you're like, and now I hit you, and you're dead, and it's just
dead. Yep. I'm excited for that challenge to make sure I tick the boxes in the right way, because I love that kind of strategizing, and that's what I loved about being a fighter was, examining the battlefield and like, all right, what superiority dice do I have? What maneuver could I use? Oh crap, they just fucked up my whole plan. Now I need to do something else. And so I like that challenge of strategizing.
Yeah. I allow players to min-max as much as they want because my boss fights are really scary. So it doesn't matter how much you've min-maxed if you don't strategize. You can't just punch your way through it. Which these
well, maybe
guys
you can't.
Out.
Sloan can't.
I mean, Sloan tried in the last boss fight, and you were just like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, it's Sloan shit. Yeah, well.
So
just gonna keep trying.
Careful, Shannon.
Yeah, I shouldn't say things like that around here.
So yeah. I think the word Nova is looking for is punishingly brutal. Punishing makes it sound so negative. But yeah, it is quite harsh. They have to think through what they're doing a little bit, or they just never really succeed. What about you, Sean?
So yeah, Auric is a classic wizard. It's just magic through and through. He doesn't really have any weapons on him. Like you look in his art, he doesn't have even a staff. He doesn't have a staff. He doesn't have daggers. He doesn't have swords. He's just, why would I need those? He might have a knife that's for dissecting things and being completely not, you wouldn't even think, oh, well, this is sharp. I can stab that guy with it. No, it's like, no, I'll make a knife of some kind and stab him with it out of something else magical. Yep. So he doesn't have any, he's purely magical. I mean, closest thing besides his magic, which is still magical, is that he does have a few dips into Bard from his past, that he does have a violin that he likes to play late at night that could be used as a spellcasting focus for some of those bardic things, but he doesn't even really care to do that. He has his fancy orb that you can see in the art that he uses for most of his focus. So it's more of a weapon against his friends and allies, although he is starting to become more considerate and developing some dunamantic magic to quiet down the racket he creates.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about the numbers of your characters. So what are your ability scores at?
All right, let's get my character sheet up here. All right, so Sloane's strength is at 17. Her dex is 16. Her con is 19. Intelligence, 8. Wisdom, 14. And charisma, 14. So not bad.
It's actually really good.
I remember when we were rolling, Nova, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah, we use rolls, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Wow.
So kept going. It's like, oh no. But then there's actually someone that outrolled you, like got really high.
Really?
Yeah. That's Mike, as is Tabaxi. It's just that he also
Ah.
can't roll now in game.
Yeah.
So
no, his rolls are so bad.
He's like, I'm gonna stealth down this street. One, there's 3 guards that you just walk over. Cool. I've got like 20 charisma. I'll try to talk to them. 1.
Oh man, yeah, literally,
Okay,
fail after fail after fail. I felt so bad. You just had to keep like switching tactics.
Just because this is a question based on what we're talking about right now. With our stat rolls, we it's 4 dice, pick 3 highest, and I let them roll 2 sets, and they get to choose of those 2 sets, and then they can allocate those dice rolls. They pick one set or the other, and they allocate that wherever they want in their stat block. What about you, Sean? What's your stats at?
Oh, right. Unsurprisingly, Auric's strength is an 8.
You squishy.
His dexterity is a 16. His con is a 16. But still, even with a little bit of cushion in there, his HP is very low. Wizards. Intellect, 20. Wisdom, 10. And then charisma, 14. So, some cushion there, but he's a wizard.
So, just because Whistle said he's just getting it all out before we go live, it's fine. I hope so, because as I said last week, I was playing pretty like gently with you guys in the pre-campaign, so as to not like accidentally outright moiter you, like just in the pre-campaign. So when we play now, gloves are kind of off. It comes down to you guys do the not the right thing. Like there's not only one way to succeed. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it'll be rough should you fail too hard.
Well, it was funny because I came into this game and I was like, all right, well, I've played a sorcerer before with some squishy HP, and I was careful then, and then I was like, well, this game, I'm coming in knowing that Nova's a little harsh, so I'm going to very much so make sure that I'm playing it safe as a wizard. I do not engage. And then like the first major combat, I don't know. I was just being a smart ass, and I was like, I'm gonna go cast a fun Dunamancy spell on this soldier because I want to make his armor stop in this, and so he's stuck in it. And then I was like, well, he's dead now, but there's a boss right there. And then I took a lightning bolt to my face, and it was terrible. And I really realized how little HP I had.
That's right, because the boss showed up at the end. So like they pretty much got through, like they're trying to go save a friend who got locked away through being
a child.
Naive, yeah, just childish naivety, whatever. And they were like, we'll go help her. And they fought through all the soldiers and guards, and then the boss showed up. And they're like, haha, we'll take you down. I'm like, cool. Like level 8 lightning bolt hits 4 of you. And they're like, what? Yeah. And then they saw the damage, and they're like, what?
What?
And the session's there, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? So yeah,
it felt very retributive because we had cast so many counter spells on Nova before that.
That's very true. That's very true.
So yeah, after that it became an interesting thing where they were just don't let him get anywhere near you, kind of line of sight to you. It was rough. It's just going to get worse. Right. So, do you have any secrets that you can tell the audience or hint at without giving away too much?
Oh God, I want to tell everything. Let's just say that the art that you're seeing is not the only one for Sloan.
This is not my final form.
This is not my final form.
For Auric, I mean, a secret from Auric, it's not so much a secret and more, I guess, just a fact, but might play into his character that you might not think of when you're just sort of like, oh, he's an aloof, distant, immortal being or semi-immortal being, but he does have a family. He has a child out there, an adult child, but a child. To him especially.
Just because Veggie said it, that confirms that they have backup characters. Not a bad idea to make some.
No. You know how much I love my barbarian. Don't do it.
I know. Well, barbarians are very hard to kill, especially if they got a party of buffers like you kind of have. So there's a good chance that you'll get buffed, they'll all die, and then you can escape.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you will be the death.
You'll be sitting there and you'll be hearing all the noises of combat and you'll be swinging away, and then sounds will start to fade and you'll kind of glance over your shoulder and see all your friends dead and be like, well, do I stay? Do I go? What's the plan? That is a barbarian's lot in life. Really, that's just how it goes. Either the bad guy goes, you're too dangerous, and just blips you away, or you stick around until all your friends die.
Well, that'll be really interesting to RP.
So I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen in this campaign, but I've seen it happen in a lot of campaigns.
Yeah.
So yeah, make some just backup characters. Talk to me about it at some point. You worry that if you make a backup character, that's when you'll die.
Exactly.
Okay. I know just how much love Shannon pours into her characters.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All the love. I love my girls.
At some point, I'm gonna have to find out how much I have to pay to see Scarlet die.
We can talk.
That face.
Don't
we can talk after, Nova. We can talk after.
Take it back.
We'll talk numbers once we're gone.
Why?
Right. So it's all right. All of a sudden, Auric shows up with like just a bunch of legendary artifacts. Everyone's like, "Why is that?" Don't you worry. You'll find out next Monday. Right. So let's see what we've got here. Let's scroll back up. Okay, cool. It's time to get on to the the questions from the audience.
Woo.
So, I will start with the ones that our people put into our Discord, just because they've been waiting all week to find out. And some of them you already kind of answered, like Sci-Fi Scribe had asked, what were the influences behind your characters? You kind of already answered that. There's one here that someone else had asked as well, which is, what are you most excited for in this campaign? That's from Seriana and someone else.
I am really excited to play with this cast again, because the Ruffians was just so much fun and we just had such great chemistry, and I'm really excited to see Kieran play, because he was our DM last time. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm just really pumped to see, like, some of us are playing complete opposites of what we played for the Ruffians. So I'm really excited to see everybody's, range when it comes to role playing.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I would second that. I'm definitely very excited to play with this cast again. It was a really good time playing in the Ruffians, but that's kind of a given. So I guess what I'm excited for with this specific campaign is I am actually really excited for the combat. As much as I'm scared of it, I am just based on the teaser you gave us in the pre-campaign. I just really love unique mechanics in combat that is compelling story-wise as well. And that's just I'm really excited to explore your world. You've given us a very small taste of what you've shown us is a very big world, and I'm excited to become a part of it, one, but then also to see more and more details of what you have cooked up, because I'm already excited just based on the pre-campaign.
Okay. I tend to take what you guys do, and I will take notes, and then I'll write that into the lore as soon as the campaign ends.
Love it.
It influences what's going on elsewhere. You
Love it.
guys might do something we think is small, but you're from another region, funded by someone else. So the government there's like, they're sending assassins and saboteurs out this way, and it might start a full-fledged war, and you're kind of like, we did a good job. We went there, we got paid, we killed some bad guys, and then you find out you're responsible for like a genocide later. You're like, oh,
That doesn't sound familiar
That's-
at all.
That's very much what I'm excited. Not genocide. I'm very much excited. What I'm very much excited for is to have our actions ripple in a living world, not genocide.
this is my 6th genocide, and it's just been so much fun.
Yeah.
Just because it's also in the individual moments of play, like already it's like we've done things in the pre-campaign that you've shown us like how the ripples work. Like, yeah, Auric accidentally killed a bunch of guards because he was trying to close a door. And so it's just a really refreshing way to play, because a lot of TTRPG can be very hastily looking over things just to move things along.
Yeah. I'm going to answer a question that's not directly in like the Discord. It's something that, when I find it, Litwiki, I think, said, for Mr. DM, is there any races or subclasses that you outright ban? I'm going to hit this in 2 areas. One links into this, where people's actions have consequences, and genocide. There was a creepy rat folk player who was constantly stealing and undermining and just being a jerk. And then when he got the chance, because he'd always been like, I'm a rat, therefore I'm worthless. And I was like, that's your take on things. Society doesn't think that. But he had a self-image issue. So when he got the chance and he freed like a CR30 genie lord, it was very evil, and was like, I wish for all sentient fur races to be higher than all others, was his exact wording. I was like, cool. And then they finished that fight in about 20, 30 seconds, and they walked outside as every single sentient fur-based creature was teleported stratosphere, and he wiped out all the Minotaurs, all the Furbolgs, all the Tabaxi, everything, and everything like that just gone in an instant. Like, cool. So they're the species that are banned. I tend to say species more than races, because they aren't races. Races is kind of like, elves are the species, and then there's races underneath that of elves, right? Orcs are not a race of humans or elves. They are completely separate species. So I tend to differentiate that. There's not anything else that's really banned apart from those things. Tabaxi is slowly making a comeback in a new, different form. Satyrs have recently showed up because of the actions of what happened last campaign. But other than that, there's nothing really banned. If people make really sort of like overpowered combos that are actively ruining the fun of someone else, I'll have a word to them, like, hey man, can you either just dial it back a bit, or sort of, find a role play reason to not do everything you're doing right now, because it's stepping on 2 other party members' toes, and they're just not having a good time because of your individual actions. So I don't want to usually ban anything. Anything sort of goes in my campaigns. I almost let players go a bit too long with their things. They'll start on a path and just keep going and going and going. And it's 3 or 4 weeks later, they're like, didn't we have a job over there? I'm like, yeah, man. You wanted to come this way. I facilitate what you want. It's not what I want. You forgot that there was a time limit on rescuing that princess. She's dead now, and you're not getting paid. So,
no.
Yeah, I commiserate with that.
Yeah.
Long form storytelling. It's good.
Oh, what you're talking about?
I don't know what's going on, but I just thought, hang on, let me grab my bucket of stupid. I feel like everybody has one. Right. So next up, from Cat09 or Catastrophe, to all the players, how do you decide on a personality for your characters? Do you like to use a diverse set of personalities, or lean towards one in particular?
I like to start with one, and then I like to see where the story goes and where she like her decisions and her choices and how that influences her. And I like to build out her personality, which that's another thing that I love about D&D is getting to have such deep RP experiences that I can build this personality, and then I have, things to draw on for when I'm building my next character. So yeah, I would say that I start with one and grow.
Okay. Sure.
Based on the characters I've played before, as I don't get to play, well, I get to play more often than I used to, but I haven't played, well, I guess I've played a lot of characters, but I don't tend to lean towards one personality type for them. I tend to try to explore different things with each character. So like Auric is going to be very different from the last caster I played. That was a sorcerer who was very different to Auric. And Auric has some similarities to Django from the Ruffians game, but very different personality types there. So whenever I make a new character, I usually like to think of something new to try out. Fortunately, sometimes if it's not something that is working, I might revert back to a character archetype I've played before a little bit. But usually I like to explore new things. Like recently I played a Warforged, and I was like, what's interesting about Warforged? And that's usually where I'll start when trying to develop the character personality. I'm like, all right, what would their history be like? What would affect what their personality would be like? What's something that's going on in this person's life? So I might try to find major life moments first and then develop the personality a little bit around that with some kind of foundation that's usually like, oh, this character's influenced by this archetype or this fictional character, and then build it out from there and until it can support itself. And then I'll try to remove some of those support beams that are like other, inspiration from other characters.
Okay. Next question is for me, apparently. When creating new arcs in your world, how did you decide the time periods between the windows we see play out? It really depends what happened in that previous arc. So there was my home campaign, ran for about 3 and a bit years, and then we boosted forward 500. And that's so that because there was like new gods were made by the end of that campaign, so we kind of wanted to see that impact they would have on the world, as a part to just it gets very messy when you're seeing the birth of gods like in real time, because I'll be walking down the street, someone's like, have you heard of this person? Like, who the hell is that? And it's that sort of it's hard to decide who knows and who doesn't know about things on a global scale, especially when the characters are high enough level to teleport around and stuff. So that became an issue. So we did a campaign on this channel which was set kind of simultaneous to that happening, and then it was a 500 jump forward, and then that was the Heart of the Plains campaign where they did all the traveling through the plains. And then when that one finished, pretty much it's been 6 months from when that campaign started in the material plane. It's been 5 years, because in their traveling through the plains, time was all messed up. So they got back and years had passed, but to them, from the start of that campaign to the start of this campaign, it's only been 6 months. So it's a interesting thing. The characters that you saw actually get out of that game alive are wandering around in the world, and these guys might run into them. Just have to see which ones. Which kind of actually leads into the next question from Serum. How many has Serum sent me? Just 2? Cool. Which is, being that Tig is basically immortal, do you foresee a story arc where her resurrection is a distinct possibility? She kind of didn't have a heart and needs time to fix that. So for those that weren't there, pretty much the Heart of the Plains campaign was about her finding the soul of her wife and trying to get her resurrected, because Tig had an int of 5 and didn't understand that her wife wouldn't be coming back. So she would just doggedly refuse to give up or stop trying. And when one of her party members died, because Tig was like the first kind of dryad in my world, she burnt a hero point to tear out her own sort of like half wooden plant heart and give it to a dying party member to allow them to live. And in the process of that, because it had already been identified that a portion of her wife's soul existed within her, since marriage is the interlinking of two people, it allowed her to be sustained purely off the love of her wife for like a few days before she finally started to pass away. And at the end, Demigod of the Hunt was just like, I'm gravely injured and need to rest, and in that time I'm pretty much going to become one with the Feywild. I have kind of half turned you into a Fey creature. Do you want to rest with me and regrow? So it's going to be about 100 years before she can just come back in any way. If they try to bring her back normally, she'll just pretty much wake up and die. So 100 years has to pass for her to come back. They legit do not have a heart, Litwiki. The character was linked to Baphomet, and then when someone 1v1 the Demon Lord Baphomet and sort of used a spell to blow a chunk, like a hole in his chest, and tore his heart out, the person linked just dropped dead with a hole in their chest. So to fix that, they had to have a heart transplant. Apparently that's how magic works.
Definitely.
That tracks.
How do you have players generate ability scores and create the characters? We've gone through that. Just some good old-fashioned rolling to create some wacky characters. Woo. Stats all over the place. Some people have fairly low stats and have rolled really well. Some people have very high stats, but roll really badly. So it kind of just creates interesting things. The one thing I always say, though, is a character must start with at least one stat at 8, because your flaws are what makes your characters, not your strengths.
I loved that. I really, really liked that mechanic, because I like using the stats to influence my roleplay. And so when I decided that Sloane's 8 was going to be in her intelligence, I didn't want to play the big, dumb, stupid person. I didn't want her to come across that way. And so I opted for the more simple, like she's, even she might not be very educated, but she's not dumb. She has a sense of the world, or at least her very small part of the world. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun to RP. It's been fun to RP so far in the pre-campaign, and it's brought about some really cool personality quirks, like very, very delicious personality quirks. And I can't wait to do more.
What about you there, Sean?
Oh my God.
Just on flaws in general.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was like, wait. Yeah, no, I mean, especially like I also like that concept of making sure you have something negative, because it's always something that as a DM, I'm always like, all right, roll your stats. And then it's like, some people will get a negative and they look at it as immediately a negative. But like, I think that it's a real source of, like Shannon said, it's a source for really interesting RP if you play it well. I'm all in favor of embracing flaws in your character, whether it is because you're working off of the stats, or generally speaking, you're just coming up with something in your backstory. Because like you said, Nova, our flaws make our characters who they are, and they are what keeps you from getting bored with your role play halfway through, because you're like, well, I can only be the smart guy so often. So let's be also the not so sensitive guy, or the less perceptive guy, while also being very smart.
Yeah, if people who watch Critical Role kind of can see, especially the first season, things like Liam's character, low wisdom, right, just kept running headfirst into trouble. And then Liam himself actually being quite high wisdom, like in real life, like he knew exactly what he was doing. He'd make smart choices all the time, and have to like roll it back to make it a bit not dumber, but less forethought. He was very rash. Same thing to be said of Marisha's character. She tried her very, very best to be charismatic, but also play that naive young character. There were times when her like high wisdom didn't shine through, but that was more of the player just had fun, like I'm a dive off a cliff, where God's sort of problem. She thought it sounded cool, and In fact, it was a Wiz Zero choice, but you know, that's exactly what roleplay is meant to be about. So just have fun with it. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to replace this particular question at me to one for you guys. So I'm not just the only one answering questions. So to Sean from Roussel, how different is Auric from other characters you've played?
It's a good question. So Auric is from the other characters I've played, because I mean, most of the characters I play are in some way. I like playing intelligent characters. I like playing characters that have. I also like playing casters. So wizard is not super far from my other characters, but I have never played a wizard, and most of my previous characters have a lot more attachments than Auric does throughout the world. I mean, he has his attachments, but they're few and far between and very disconnected. So, but not in a meaningless way, you know, in the sense that he's not attached to anything, but it's just a very different experience for him passing through the world. So that's different for me. The whole, you know, truly leaning into the disassociated, you know, semi-immortal entity is very different for me. And that's the challenge of Auric right now for me, because my other characters have been a sarcastic robot, a nervous sorcerer, and a not so charming soldier, but charming bard, and yes, and then a brooding soldier. So very different from all of those, I'd say.
Okay. Right, let's see who's next. So Shannon goes well for me again from Sci-Fi Scribe. How do you typically plan world build for a new campaign? How much prep do you save for after you know who your players are and what kinds of characters they're playing? So we've been planning this one for about 4 months. It's been a while.
It was like almost as soon as Ruffians was done.
Yeah. I've had a lot going on between uni and some family stuff. So my prep time has not been as long as I'd like. And I have a week, and I really only have like I've got the broad beats planned, but only really kind of like some of the more nitty details for the first 2 sessions. And I really like to be about 4 sessions ahead, so that, and my planning, I don't think is necessarily like other DMs' plans, because I will go broad beats and then I'll drag each episode into sort of individual documents about, cool, what would I do here if I was this character, this character, this character, this character, or any of these classes, and then they start arcing down, and then I go off each choice, and then from there. So it ends up with like a whole swath of things get ignored, but very rarely am I like just really outright surprised by what a character is doing.
Challenge accepted.
And yeah, good luck. And when they do that, I let them roll with it, because it's the fun for me, right? Seeing what they come up with. So I just do that. So the world building for this has been interesting, because we had the one campaign finished, so we've been filling in extra stuff about gods. They've gone, hey, what do you think of this class character or species? And I'll go through and I'll fill out more details and then send it through to them. And then with this one, because we're using Tyranny of Drag, did I put the book on the floor? Here we go. This is, thank you, Light. This one is what we're using. Rise of Tiamat. There's been a bunch of seeing where best it would fit in the world and maneuvering things to fit. Also, these guys aren't playing the heroes from this book. They're kind of adjacent to it, watching it happen from the sidelines and deciding when and where they want to interfere. And, you know, they could be the council sends out a group of heroes and they're just like, we're just going to nuke their boat when they're halfway there. And then that's the problem solved. And we'll go do some stuff. And then the council's like, they said they'd be back by now. Should we send out some more? And then they'll be kind of like waltzing away from a murder scene knowing these guys. And a new group of heroes will show up and have to deal with that. So I'm expecting like nearly every good character in my world to be dead by the end of this, given you guys' propensity to just stab people all the time.
I don't know what you're
I've not
talking
stabbed anyone. I just push them around. Or send them to a random point in time.
Yeah.
And I don't stab. I don't
Slash?
know. Yeah, that. That.
Crush, cleave. You cleave and crush.
Crush.
Yes,
crush.
That sword is not
that one too.
made for slashing. Like slashing sounds
definitely
more
cleave.
Graceful than what you do. Which is
She's graceful. A little bit. Yeah. Is she?
Let me just paste these two down.
Not in my experience.
Yeah. All right. So next question. From Smug Looking Barrel 6 to the players. What is something that the other PCs might be surprised that you consider an acceptable sacrifice? Something bad but worthwhile if it gets the results you want. So this is the point of this campaign almost. What are you willing to give?
Oh. I don't know. That's a good question. I need to think about that.
Do you want to leave that one stewing while we answer the next question?
Yes,
and
please.
We'll come back to it.
Yes, please.
Unless
Sean has an answer.
Everything.
Everything.
Which I'm going to eat my words, of course, but...
I know this was a question asked somewhere else. I can't see it, so I'm going to copy paste it down. Is there anything that does hold meaning to Auric, or is there anything at all that you would not sacrifice?
Yeah. I mean, he has... I would say the only way I'll put it is he has that one connection, and that is likely the only thing that he would second guess sacrificing. But I mean, he likes Sloane. She's been a good addition to his journeys, but at the end of the day.
Are you saying you would sacrifice me? Is that what I'm hearing right now?
Last of all of them.
All right. I'll allow it.
Means you do have a few to work through, so that's fine.
Yes, not my first choice.
Well, then I don't want to like do a cop-out answer, but like I feel like Sloane would be much the same. Auric was the first person she met outside of her tribe, and he's kind of shown her the world, so she wouldn't want to lose that.
Okay.
Which is exactly why he would save her for last, because she will keep him alive.
Yes.
Interdependent relationship.
Let's have a look what else we got here. You said show me the world. It's in my head now.
Yep. Now it's in mine.
No problem. Sorry, she said show you the world, and immediately like shining, shimmering, splendid. Now I have that song.
Shimmering. Yep, now it's in mine. Thanks a lot.
No problems. Your fault. Smoky Barrel 6. Another one to Auric. What, if anything, should not bear losing? Which I think we kind of just asked it. Good me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be, quite literally, there's only one thing in the world that Auric has any sort of, I'd say, non-ephemeral connection to, that he would not wish to lose or could not bear losing to a certain extent. Yeah.
Is that your orb?
It's just my orb. Yeah, it's just my special super secret magic orb.
Or Gladstone number, whatever you're on right now.
There's literally no relationship that Auric values less than his familiar.
He's gonna one day get like a sentient owl. He's like, you are my special owl. I now hold you with value.
Yeah, until his familiar resists him and says, "Wait," that's the day he'll be like, "Oh no."
I think your familiars are sort of Mr. Meeseeks.
Yes, that's exactly what I just
Existence is paid. Use me, please kill me now. Just cool.
Sprinkle.
Opposite of sprinkle.
From me, what
that's true.
What has been banned? Has been answered. Right. Smug looking barrel 6 again. You are a barbarian fighter, Sloan
Yes,
slash
I am.
Shannon. What is your level split? And if you can tell us, what subclasses are you?
So I am 9 levels of barbarian, 3 levels of fighter. I cannot reveal what subclass I am yet for fighter. That is going to come out on stream. And yeah, same thing for barbarian. That's going to come out on stream. We've got some cool stuff planned for her. So sorry, I only answered half that question, but tune in to find out.
Yeah, there's a bit of homebrew to do with her subclasses. So even if she kind of told you, it wouldn't really fit. So you have to see how that plays with the character and the campaign when it's coming out. Right. From me, I guess that's veg. How do your different DMs stack up against each other? What do you like about their different styles? Now, answer carefully because I'm your current DM. So nice things.
Oh my god, I have 2 current DMs right now. So I gotta choose
which
my
one's
words.
best? Which one's best, Shannon? Which character do you want?
Shannon, I was just gonna say, Shannon, which character do you want to die sooner?
Well,
Shannon, remember you have 2 characters I'm
and
DMing.
Sean, I think
Stop
we
it!
should say that if her
You
answer
already
is
killed one of my
satisfactory,
one of
just
you
kill
already
both
killed
of them.
Anna
Yeah.
once. And I already died once.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Nova, over Shannon begging me not to kill her characters.
What I said is if one of us isn't completely satisfied with these answers, I think we should just make an agreement to kill both of them.
No.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And then I will end
Just
both
for
of
what?
you.
I mean, I feel like Sean's in more danger here because you have to find like a long way to get to me.
I know where Sean lives.
Yeah, I'll be gone.
It's an empty apartment.
No, but I do want to answer this though, because I love Sean as a DM and I love the storytelling. He's very, very talented storytelling. And I love the rich detail that he puts into the scenes, because that helps me visualize and that helps, create that fully immersive experience that I crave in my D&D games. And for you, Nova, I really enjoy just all the thought that has gone into this homebrew world, as well as your knowledge base of D&D as a whole. Like when we were building Sloan, it just the amount of the ideas that you came up with were really cool, and it was really helpful for me as someone who hasn't really played a high level barbarian before. It was helpful to have somebody there who was knowledgeable about all the rules and mechanics of it.
You find this acceptable, Sean?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you're safe for now.
Am I?
That's made of plastic. The daggers in our campaign are made of steel.
It can hurt.
The imaginary daggers are made of steel, yes. So, yeah, I thought that was a pretty good answer.
Thanks.
What about you there, Sean?
I haven't had many DMs. That's funny because after Shannon's answer, my brain just went to like, oh, well, who am I going to compare Nova to right now? So yeah, I mean, most of the DM experiences I have.
Johnny was awesome.
Johnny was a good DM, yes. Awesome. I've had most of my experiences with DMs have been very short term, very, very short term. Max 5 or 6 sessions. This will probably be my longest D&D campaign I've ever played in as a consistent player. So that is something I'm very excited for, and already from experiencing the pre-campaign and seeing some of the massive amounts of text that you have for your world. I guess one thing I can certainly say about the experience is that I can relate very much to your DMing in a lot of ways, whether it is trying to find interesting ways to challenge players as opposed to just sort of hard alone, but also just the devotion to the world I can respect so much because I try to demonstrate that in my own home brewing.
You do so successfully.
And okay, Shannon, it's too late to butter us up.
we've been butted up.
Internally, me and Nova made some calculated choices about the future after your answer.
And you wonder why I play angry characters.
But a lot of that's the main kind of difference that I'm excited to experience with this is like this will be my first long-term comparatively campaign. I think Kieran was the next longest behind this. The one with Johnny, who's from Earth's Embers, a podcast channel. That was 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, 3 or 4 recording sessions, and I think 9 or 10 episodes total.
Yeah, and that was my last longest before Kieran, and then it was 2 before that, and so like this will be my first real experience with a character that's going to have a lot of room comparatively to grow, or at the very least to see some interesting arcs.
I think the length of this campaign right now is scheduled for playing from first session next week. At the time we started this, till Christmas, and then we'll take a break. And if you aren't all dead, we'll come back for another season, and then it's up in the air to whether you'll continue or not. It really depends on if you want to and your choices made, or whatnot. There will be sort of a end point ? Like it'll be an ending, but you could quite easily be like, well, we could have to go deal with this and continue. So it's up to you guys.
Cool.
Right. How do your different DMs stack up against each other? My DMs, I have not had one in so long. I've had my initial DM, who I played with for about 1.5 years, and I was just like, this game has potential, and I'm thankful that you taught me how to play, but I'd like to run my own game now, please. Because he made some real wacky choices, which pretty much made people like, yeah, we're not playing anymore. Such as the blind oracle seeing a giant on a flat road because she rolled a natural 20, and us who rolled between 5 and 10 on the dice, but playing 3.5 had plus 15 to 20 with our perception, didn't see the giant, and we're like, that doesn't make. You don't need to roll perception to see a giant 200 feet ahead of you. It's a fucking giant. I see it.
Yeah.
So it happened previously as well. Like we dug our way out of a ice tunnel, and so my character, the range popped his head up, was like, yep. I rolled an 18 plus 20. He's like, all is clear apparently. And we got up, and there had been a white dragon staying there, and he's like, yeah, it blends in with the ice. Like, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
So we just ignored his decision, and the dragon tried to talk to us, but threatened us, and we just killed it. And he's like, but that was meant to be an NPC. I'm like, then don't threaten the party with a dragon that's not strong enough to enforce its. Yep, cool. And we just kind of kept rolling, and there were some bad choices made. Other than that, sounds like a giant plot hole. Thank you, Wiki. The only other DM I've had is recently is Vegemite Dangerous, who's in chat, and he was pretty good. We have very, very different styles, so I think my character didn't fit in his world as well as it could have, but that's just on me. So I know that, and I also had to duck out halfway through the campaign. So when I came back, I was like, things are happening. I don't understand what's going on. And it made it a bit disjointed. But the fights, the thought he put into it, the planning, the being a much more investigation-based game made it really, really interesting, because most people do either sort of role play heavy in terms of character development and that's emotional connection sort of stuff, or combat, and sort of forget the exploration side of D&D. I do this myself sometimes, and the investigation side of things. So because he did that, that's to his credit that he actually managed to work that in a really good way. Yeah. it's hard to say what's your best DM when you've had two and one was kind of bad. So, yeah. Right. So, Whistle While You Work says, For Nova, have any of us surprised you yet? If so, who? Yeah, you did when you walked into a prison cell. I was like, nah. And that's why like the guards were like, all right. Clunk, locks the thing.
Oh, man.
And just walked away. She's like, guys, like, I described it as a barred door, and you just walked on in. And then you found out that it was anti-magic and kept trying to cast. And I explained that it was backlash, and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna summon my magic sword, and then explode. And you're like, no, how did that happen? And it's anti-magic. So like it was that whole scenario was really entertaining because like I just didn't see it coming. I had all these scenarios and you talking your way through, starting a fight, running for help. I had like 6 or 7 things based on what you could do and seeing your sheet. And then he was like, nah, fuck all that. I walk into the set. What? All right. So yeah, it was really good.
That's great.
Really enjoyable. I take it as a compliment. Yeah. Right. So, agent number 1 to me again. Did any of the pre-campaign come from Tyranny intros, or was that entirely homebrew? What do you mean by Tyranny intros? Is there an intro module bit for this? I skipped to halfway through and started from there because I had another campaign like 2 years ago play the start of this. And I was just like, we won't do that. I'll say it's already done in the world. So, well, this campaign is built off Horde of the Dragon Queen, and I believe that has intros. So you go directly from that into this one. It more or less should have been one big book. So there's not really an intro as far as I could sit here and flick through it, but I shall not because we're on stream. And that's just the most entertaining thing in the world. Kyle reads books on stream. Right, so Litwiki says for Nova, God, there's players here too, guys. When you have players make characters, do you use any of the published stuff like This Is Your Life thing in Homebrew? Good job, brain. In Xanathar's or the Heroic Chronicle from Wildmount? I prefer not to, and I have a almost like I say it in a way that's kind of it sounds insulting, but it's more like it's good for newer players or people that don't have the time to do things. So don't be offended when I say this. I think they're a crutch. You use them if you can't make your own stuff, right? I know some DMs who are just like, you have to have this, you have to have an ideal, a burn of this from these tables. I'm like, they're crap. I don't want them. I've written what my character believes in, what his flaws are, who his family is, what his connections are as well. I'll give you all of that. Usually, sometimes I'm also busy and just be like, I give people like a dot point. I'm like, yep, sure, those things and these two from the book. But generally, yeah, they make good tools to help build your choices. When you need that help, it's there. If you don't need the help, they're actually almost frustrating to use. If someone's forcing them on you and you're like, there's like these choices here and they don't make sense for my character because they're very sort of like defined. You need to either take them and twist them, and some people don't like that, or make your own. So, you saying that your flaw is your sort of lack of intelligence in Sloan. I made it very specific that I said Sloan and not Shannon then.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. I've done things like before, mixing up names. People are like, what do you mean? I'm like, sorry. So the low int, right? You can tie that into why your character has got to places they are because they've been constantly sort of manipulated in situations and taken advantage of. And there's so much to kind of build there. that you don't need that table. You can build all your own things off of just that one stat roll, right? So I encourage players to do it. It does mean you need a while in advance of a campaign. If you know you're going to be playing a campaign, you need to take, before a month, go, cool, this is my character, then go back to a week later. What are my flaws? Go back to a week later and actually look at it quite deeply. And you'll make a much more interesting, fulfilling to play character than if you just took some stuff out of a book.
Yeah, and I like that idea of spreading it out too, because when you take a break from it, you have time to sleep on it, think it over, and awesome things come out of walking away from it for a little bit.
Yeah, something like the Heroic Chronicles from Wildemount is the only thing different from it, I'd say, than the typical like stat rolls is that it is useful for someone coming in with no knowledge of the setting whatsoever, because it has all of the, like, if you truly don't, like you said, most of it really is like, if you don't have time to do this, then it's useful. But like the Wildemount one, I find maybe a little bit more useful than the This Is Your Life, because it has details about the world based on the stat rolls. So like, if you're not sure about the places in Wildemount, the Heroic Chronicles can help you understand the places in the world. But that doesn't make as much sense, especially when in a homebrew campaign using something like that, because all of that information is going to come from a conversation with your DM, and that doesn't work as well in the sense of like using those crutches.
I think that one is quite good because it comes down to, do I have time to read this book cover to cover to find out exactly where I want to be from? Or have I, if you've watched Critical Role, you're like, okay, I want to be from here. I've heard of this thing. You kind of already know the characters and the people, so you're fine. If you don't have time for that, being able to just flick through that table is great. I really should do something like that for mine because there is a lot of information and I don't freely share it while it's still a work in progress. And I think maybe more DMs should have like a dot point. Hey, if you need an in here is a country, its values, its political system, and it's a couple names of towns. So you can be like, I'm from here, but I don't believe in what the government's pushing.
Yeah.
And this, and you kind of have a ready to go basic.
For sure.
That's really helpful.
But as we said, it's more of a helpful thing as opposed to because it's do have time. Character choice though, I didn't see what that was in response to, so I have no idea what that means. But we have run out of questions to ask. So from the chat, throw in some questions. We'll answer. We can talk about things. We have a bit more time. We have up to an hour more.
Ask all the questions.
And you guys as well, Shannon, Sean, if you've got questions for me about things, ask.
Tell me all the secrets.
Well, you're going to open a portal and head to this other planet where this fiery red-headed rogue is actually the big evil villain.
Yes.
So it'll be up to you guys to take her down.
Yeah, I hear she's a criminal and kills people.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a.
I heard that she's pretty fucking awesome, if that's what you mean.
I heard she has a weak spot in her knee.
Ooh. I heard that was recent and she's working on it.
For Shannon, do you think Sloane will develop an addiction for other desserts? And will her quest be to try them all? Will they be the Pokemon of Sloane?
Yes. 1,000% yes. Yes. That was such an awesome moment. Should I talk about that?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So for all you people who are listening right now, you're about to hear something real special. So we were in the pre-campaign, we were in a tavern and we were eating, as you do in a tavern, and Sloane she's never had sweets before. Those were not a thing in her tribe. So the dessert option was a creme brulee. And it comes out, I eat it. Did I roll for it to see if I liked it? Did I just decide that I liked it?
I think you decided you like it because it was like the first sweet thing you'd ever had.
Yeah. Okay. So I decided I love creme brulees, and I was like, this is what food can taste like. Are you kidding me? And so from then on, Sloan promptly forgot the name and calls them creamy brulees. So that's what they're known as now. And she will do anything to defend her creamy brulee satchel that she has. And wherever we go, she is going to want to either have a creme brulee or, try whatever the local dessert is, because she now has a sweet tooth.
Oh yeah, at Oric's prompting too. He'll buy you all the sweets you want because when you had the first creme brulee, he was like, "Here, have mine too."
Yep. Oh, and then I promptly had a sugar rush and like just benched a table for the whole night.
Yeah, because you didn't just have one, you had like a couple. And I got to get rid of this energy. And we just rolled some con checks to see if you just keep going. You just kept going.
I kept on going. And then I crashed hard.
Yeah, and then she thought she'd lost her creme brulee in the middle of a fight, so she just went to town and murdered like a few people.
I mean, they were asking for it.
They were fighting.
Let's be fair. They were.
At a certain point, maybe.
I just
like,
read.
What is that face?
I just read Litwiki's thing because they said for the players, because I don't need Nova's sass. Is there anything besides the torturous boss fights that you're anxious for this campaign? And I said my sass. Like last time I asked a question, it was all you guys can ask the players questions too, and I don't need
all the sass. I love it.
So what are you anxious for?
I'm anxious that Sloane's gonna die. That is what I'm anxious for, because I do not want her to die. I love her too much. I will die on this hill. Shannon will die on this hill, but Sloane will not.
Have you had character deaths before?
Not permanent.
Not permanent ones.
Not permanent ones. So please don't be my first.
I have
She's been revived once.
Yep.
I have pretty difficult systems for resurrection, because revivify isn't 1 minute, it's a round to get you back.
Oh shit.
So it's a case of, it's 1d4, but I roll the dice off screen, so you don't know how long you last. It's 1 round minimum.
It's fundamentally 1 round.
Yeah,
as far as we're concerned.
Which means if you don't, get brought back, you now have to cast a bigger spell, and that starts to be talking to the gatekeepers for certain realms to be able to be released, or having to actually go retrieve the soul from that place. To like bartering with gods. Like it gets pretty hard. So
I hope there's no mages around when we need resurrections, so Saros does not feel compelled to do something else.
Yes. Breaking.
Do you have diamonds?
Yeah, he's gonna. We're all gonna be down, and there's just gonna be a mage who really wants to kill.
Sorrow smash.
Or he'll just smash us into death. Like your time has come. just put us out of our mercy. That's Saros's revivify.
Yeah. I am actually on a more serious note, I am a little nervous about remembering all of the things. Like I said before, there are so many little mechanics, and I'm excited for the challenge, but at the same time, like I want to make sure that I'm staying true to the rules, and making sure that I'm using all of those abilities to as best as I can. So
yeah, I'd say it's similar for me. This is the first character I'm playing who has to prepare their spells for the day, and that's actually something I'm nervous about, because I've never had to do that before, and I'm used to just having a spell list, and the idea of I just hate the idea of not preparing a spell that ends up being useful that day, which I know is going to happen, but it's just like,
yeah.
Yes. So because
spellcaster's remorse.
Because you guys are fairly new, pretty much you started in 5e, right? Have you played 3.5 or 4?
No.
Only 5e.
So you've not seen the whole sorcerers got to have a bunch of spells but less spell slots. They could, just freely choose out of their list in that day, but their list was also a bit shorter. So they go, I learned these 20 spells at level 10, and I can cast any of them whenever I want. Whereas the wizards go, I have 30 spells I know, but I can choose like 6 for the day. And that's what you use. And there was a whole lot more, like in early editions, there was like, you had specialties in certain schools of magic. So I brought a little bit of that back to my world, where different gods are in charge of different magical schools, and they don't like when people who believe or follow a different god or are just like tied to that god getting power from them then go, oh yeah, I'm gonna cast your spell. There can be magical backlash. Wild magic is like that in my world. So there's a lot more wild magic, as the god sort of doesn't quite fulfill your request when you cast a spell. So yeah, there was more point to this, and I can't remember it. My brain's foggy.
That's also something I'm nervous about, is as a wizard is playing with the spell casting specialization, and also not only that, but playing a wizard who has a personality trait of spitting in the face of gods.
So the whole thing was, so in your campaigns, do you just let players like just cast anything out of any time?
Yeah, pretty much. If they have a prepared spell, they can cast it, unless there's component requirements.
Okay, I know other DMs that allow players to just cast freely from their spell list and not have to prepare them.
Oh no, I do. They do have to prepare their spells if their class requires it. So like druids, clerics, paladins, all that stuff. Wizards. Several times Clayton has not prepared the right spells for that day of our campaign.
Let's just have a look. All right, so I'm gonna just answer Litwiki's question, because it was reference to the death and the dying mechanics. It's how does that work with Zealot Barbarian? Now, I haven't actually had a Zealot Barbarian before in my games where I've run this specific thing. I've had it in games where we just run the usual death stuff. So to be honest, I actually hadn't considered it overly. Now, when it comes to their things like, they die and then come back at 1 HP if they pass a check, that's just they fall over and they like, I'm not actually dead. Like they've been preserved, so they're fine. They don't even have that death soul going away thing. When it comes to their whole, they cast a spell on them, I believe the wording is it just doesn't have a material cost. I've got my book in front of me. So as opposed to having to pay a fucking massive diamond and then maybe have it fail because the angel's just like, you've not exactly made a compelling argument, so I'm not releasing the soul. And you have to then go, okay, I have to do more about it. And there's DC checks, and it's a little Critical Role-esque. So it's not like it just outright fails every time. But the idea is they don't pay the diamond. So it's a free spell to cast. It just still has a chance of failing. So hopefully that answers your question. If I'm wrong about that, feel free to send me the actual wording of the ability and I'll rethink it. I've now lost this. From Smug Looking Barrel 6. Are you overt? This is to Auric. Are you overt or covert with your magic? Would you use magic when it's not necessary just to show that you can, or would you rather not let the common folks know that you are a powerful wizard?
That's a good question. I mean, Auric is less likely to use magic overtly out of a desire to express power, and more so likely to use magic overtly out of an ignorance of his surroundings, just due to not paying attention to the specific details around him, and just more so thinking like, well, of course I will use a spell right now. This is just what I'm going to do. He is definitely one to use spells esoterically, in the sense that I could walk over there, but I'm gonna float over there or something like that. Or I could grab that easily. I could walk over there and pick that up. But no, I've got gravity magic for that. He's definitely, in that sense, like magically privileged, I guess. And in that way, often is overt in his use of magic out of mostly just a love for magic, 1, and 2, an ignorance of his surroundings.
And 3, you're extra.
Yeah, he's very extra. Yeah. He's a bit extra. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you will most likely just use a spell at some point at the wrong time, wrong place, and it'll be like, ooh, should I have done that? Cosplay. That's the question. At some point, maybe like every 4th episode, we'll do like a cosplay episode.
Oh, I have something ready to go. I'm ready to paint my face every episode.
Yeah, but we need to make sure everyone else can do it.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, Shannon, I gotta buy yourself here.
You need a wig. You gotta dye your hair.
Especially since Agent's gonna need like 8 hours in a makeup chair.
Yeah, he's gonna need a professional help for that.
Have to shave his face, his head, lose like freaking like Saras looks really skinny to me in the art. Like he looks a bit. Is there any chance we get the Saras art up? Please, producer Veg, just to show it off. I don't know if you have it ready, but I'm pretty sure he's like it looks a little emaciated. So yeah, like that'll be a real hard cosplay to pull off if you go on the full-fledged.
That'd be some cool makeup though. That would be really cool makeup to do.
Yeah. Well, also you gotta think of
look at that
Leaf having to.
That's that's true.
Mike having to do full on cat person cosplay.
Yeah. He's gonna spend hours just gluing.
If it's anything like his seagull costume in the last in the Ruffians campaign, I'm sure it'll be great.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I miss Sloop.
You miss Sloop?
I miss Sloop Rhinescale so much.
Rhinescale.
Yeah. Oh, that was pretty good.
I really like his kobold characters. I've been listening to his podcast, Wonders and Wonders, and yeah, it's really, really good. So now there was a question earlier about guest spots. Now we will have guests at times. It's already 5 players, so it's a pretty full cast already, because 5 players through Zoom or Discord is difficult because you can't just whisper to the guy next to you. It all comes over the audio, so it's a little hard and takes a bit of practice. So there will most likely be guest spots, though I will be vetting each person quite hard, a lot harder than I vetted these guys here, because I'd already seen them play and knew what they could do. So it was a bit, easier in that regard. But yeah, there's also a style and like a weight to this campaign, where if people come in and just sort of like fuck around, it'll sort of undermine what they're doing here. It's a little bit more of a serious game. By vetting, he means no veggie.
No veggie, you gotta play with us.
Let's see. Any other questions?
That is very true. Whistle said you saw our chaos and still invited us back.
I mean, that was nothing. You guys are going to be fighting some bigger things. I imagine the chaos is going to get real bad. And I just love the interplay of like Leaf being like, I'm just going to go spy on this thing, and then you guys having to deal with it. And there's, Whistle's character is just like, oh my God, that's the worst. I'm so innocent. How could you do a thing? And then Sloane, your character is just like, I guess we fix it, and hits it. And then she's like, oh my God, you murdered someone. And that's the point where it looks up his book like, yes.
Oh, we're doing things now? Yes.
Another mortal died.
It is
Tuesday, and then goes back to his book.
Very dysfunctional. I love it.
Yeah. Right. So, since I haven't seen a question stop by in a little bit, as I said before, do you guys have any questions for each other, myself, anything?
Yeah, let's think something real quick. Well, I guess Shannon, what is So we talked a little bit, and obviously not without giving too much away about your backstory, but what brought Sloane out into the world? She could have stayed with her tribe, without talking too in depth, but like what brought her out here to find Auric hanging in a tree by an old bear trap or an old hunting trap, who's been there for a month, just
upside
sitting
down
there
with his
reading
spell
a book.
just out of reach. Yeah. It wasn't by choice. It wasn't by choice. I don't want to say too much because you're right. I don't want to spoil it, but there is a huge chunk of time that she's missing. She lost a good part of her memory. So she doesn't know exactly how she got out into the world. She remembers raiding, and then she remembers waking up, and she doesn't know what happened in between. So I'm really stoked to find out what happens in between, or in that time that's lost.
Yeah, I think you gave me we talked about a little bit about what might have happened.
Yeah,
but it was more or less leave it up to me.
Leave it up to the DM. I love giving my DMs things to. Yes, I do love doing that. You're muted,
Same.
Sean. I read your lips.
Did you read my lips? I
read your lips.
She loves doing that to DM. She loves giving us homework. It's the teacher.
I do. That is so true.
Let's have a look.
Yeah. Sean, for you, does Auric plan to really look for his child, or is that just kind of on the back burner right now?
Yeah. Again, without giving too much away about his backstory, it's a lot more of a they don't really want to talk to me sort of deal. So that's sort of the journey it is. And because it's also why he likes to keep you all around, mortals around, because he likes to understand mortals a bit better, because his child is a half elf, so they don't share all of the same qualities he has. So there's a little bit of interesting stuff there, but he isn't. Yeah, I mean, he does want to reconnect with the only connection he really has in the world. He's just a bad dad. That's that's what his character is. He's a bad dad, and he's trying to deal with it.
Yep. On his own time,
and not forget to deal with it. Essentially.
Right. Because he's got all the time in the world to deal with it.
He has a propensity to forget things because of how much time he has. So I mean, that's part of his character. He's for as smart as he is, he's very forgetful.
Makes sense.
We made a joke that pretty much, this is when we was doing the recordings for the Hero Forge ads and character builds, which will be up soon-ish, maybe, I don't know, sometime. So it's kind of because your understanding of the flow of time is so different to normal people, you kind of went, hi daughter, daddy will be back soon. And it's been 14 years. Yep. And you showed up and she's like, get the fuck away from me. And you're like, no problem. And she's just that is your wish. Yeah. So you kind of you've walked away and then you've found people be like, so I think my daughter's angry. So I'm going to get to know you so I can understand why that might be. And just so it's
I love it.
It's a bit of a problem for you. It's the old dad went down to the corner store to get some.
Yeah, I went to get some magic cigarettes and came and just didn't come back for 14 years.
Oh, Whistle said the exact same thing. Yeah, and it's a problem. It's a problem for you. So yeah. Anyways, I'll leave that one there because I have so many things I want to ask and talk to you about with that one. We'll see how that plays out. From Whistle. For everyone, do you have a favorite party moment so far?
So far. I don't know.
Shannon, are you trying not to talk about creamy brulees?
I am. Yes, I am 100% trying not to. You know me too well. It's really hard. I really liked the creamy brulees.
I think there's two moments that I particularly like. I really liked when Leaf's character came up to us, and after we essentially decided that this was not a temporary relationship, his just blatant admission that him and Saros were really only talking to us because they planned on robbing us. And then Whistle's character was just like, oh, well, thanks for not robbing us.
Yeah. Yep, that was a good one. I did like that.
I did love that. Like, I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I came over here to rob you, and everyone's just like,
cool.
All
right.
And, like, Sloan was like, why would you rob us? And then Oric's like, yeah, that seems like a thing people could do. And then like Whistle's just sitting there shocked, like, well, thank you. So yeah, it was really, really entertaining. So that and the creamy brulees.
I also really liked, I think one of the really memorable moment was when you had a quick one-off with Saros after he got sucked through a portal with someone else. And I just like those moments. And what I also liked is when we came back, it was a dire moment. And I really like campaigns where the characters can joke with each other and there can be some fun moments, but then it's like, it's serious right now. Let's get into that. And there was that moment of like, we need to get out of here because we just destroyed a bunch of stuff and there's no sign of anyone else but us. And we all, that moment was, and someone's missing an arm and all of this. And it was very easily like, it's also part of what I like about this group is that they can flow very easily through tone in appropriately in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to answer Brutal Shroom's question. So we've had a few sessions offline. The game or the series started on the 19th, and it started with these sort of things. There was one last week with 3 other players. One of these talks is this one with these 2 players and myself as the DM, and then next week is the first live session. So you'll be able to start from there and be all caught up. They're kind of just I like doing a little offline campaign when I can, just so it lets the players sort of know each other, because I'm sure many other DMs have had the problem where a party sort of gets together in the first session and some people want to play up the, oh, I'm not sure I trust you, and cause issues. It's not always great. Some groups do it just fine and some groups don't. And while I don't not trust this group to do it, it's always just better to remove that chance if it has it, be there. Just take it out.
Yeah. I really like playing the character before going live because I like to get to know them before acting on screen, essentially. So I know the decisions that they'll make and I can really get in their head and their mindset and be them for 2-3 hours live. It's a lot easier to do that when you've had some sessions offline before.
I've had Lit Wiki, and Lit Wiki is the next one. So for the players, what are your character's deepest, darkest secrets? Spoilers be damned.
I already told you, Sloan loves creamy brulees. That is her deepest, darkest
very
secret.
Public about that.
Yes. It's very much so. She was carrying a satchel full of creme brulees so that she could just take with her, and it got dropped and it got stepped on, and Sloan was not happy.
To be clear, there were no creme brulees in the bag. She just thought there were.
You know what? It's the thought of the fact that the creme brulees were getting squished that was enough to piss her off.
Oric's deepest, darkest secret. He's afraid of spiders.
Really?
Which I know is an improper thing to tell your punishing DM, but he's afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
Ever heard of a retriever?
Okay.
You've heard of a retriever?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, cool. You will be retrieved.
Oh boy.
If there, it's the kind of thing where Auric is a weaver of magic, and if there's spiders around,
I don't like
wild
spiders.
magic be damned.
So six driders and a retriever, and we're good to go. My driders are much more monstrous than normal ones as well.
I bet.
They're like a cross between a drider and the alien from Aliens. So yeah, it's always fun. Right, what have we got? For Auric from Agent Number 1. Have you ever deliberately pursued magic that you knew could potentially be dangerous to the world or multiverse?
Yes. Yes. Auric is the type of researcher who it's like he'll be like, well, this could destroy everything, or it might not. Let's just push it a little bit further and see where it gets. Let's bend the metal a little bit more until it just doesn't snap. And he just happens to, yeah, he's a pusher for sure when it comes to the magical arts. And I'll say for sure he has pursued magical arts that have definitely compromised, at the very least, the fabric of reality around him.
I like the idea that you've kind of had to experiment on live subjects before. So your reaction where you can blip someone to another point in their timeline, the first time you're like, human, I will pay you, I don't know what a good number is for humans, 40 gold, to do a spell on you. It won't hurt you. And they're like, yeah, no problem. And you go, some point in your timeline, they'll be back in 6 seconds. Oh shit.
Oh. Well,
And
I hope it was a good one.
And then,
Whoops.
like, 45 seconds later, like an old man walks by, like, you bastard.
Do I know you?
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Like, just shows up having spent 40 years, in his time.
Oh yeah, getting Captain America.
Yeah, exactly. So that sort of stuff. That and obviously, you chronomancers and dunamancy has like black hole spells. I'm sure that didn't have a negative effect. Where you've gone, I'm going to try this on another world for starters, and you destroy that one. You're like, well, test 1 was successful. Let's see if I can localize the effects.
Yeah, Auric definitely has some. If it's in his path, there's a chance that reality's just gone. It's just gone.
Yeah, there's a good chance that if all of this was true, that Auric actually has the highest kill count of anyone in my entire multiverse.
I believe it.
So yes. Are there any more questions, or should we wrap this up? Let's have a look. I don't see any. Cool.
I would just like to really quickly answer Litwiki's comment. Yes, Auric going out for cigarettes was much more akin to him going to the supermarket and getting lost there. That is an apt analogy.
Sorry, Veg just put like the up arrows, and I'm just looking. I think it's more the talk about sponsors. Yeah, cool. Which I'll do. Right, so I think the only question I have for you guys is, knowing what you know of what's kind of meant to kick this story off, are you intrigued to do that, or have you kind of got side quests you want to go down just based on what you've got in your backstory already or what you've seen so far? Because you're meant to be sort of getting to this council that you've heard of to hear about how it's affecting the world around you, and ties into some of the information you've been finding. So are you going to do that, or are you going to be like, I kind of want to research this other magic thing, and there's a school of magic there, and it would be much more worth my time spending a semester there.
Sloan would be happy doing either or, because both of these are experiences that she hasn't had before. So she's going to learn something either way. So she'll go along with whatever the party wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, Oric can't resist a story about that powerful magic that's going on in the world, and interesting things about dragons and whatnot, and it's all, it's checking all his boxes. So even if he wanted to do a side quest, this is definitely something that would distract him from that for sure. This exact sort of thing that would draw him away from what he may really want to do deep down. So see where it takes him. I mean, Oric will choose the path that leads closest to whatever his goals are, but he is certainly susceptible to distraction.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If there's no other questions, I'm going to give you guys 20 seconds to think and to chat. And while I do that, I will say, if you want to build maps for your campaign, then you need dungeonfog.com. It's amazing. Go check it out. It's a simple, easy-to-use online map-making software that I know Producer Veg has spent countless hours playing with since he got it, and we'll be using probably this week to build a dozen or so maps of potential encounters. And I'll probably any that we don't use, I'll probably show on Patreon with a story about why it's there
Cool.
when we get that all set up. So yeah, thanks again, Dungeon Fog. Right, if there's no more questions, we'll doesn't look like it. I'm trying to think of the question to keep this going. My brain is slow. No worries, Lucky. And there's none from the players, so I'll say, if you want to find out more about Roll for Damage, we've got the panels below. We've got our Twitter, YouTube, Discord. Go check it out. Come join the community. It has all when we're going live and any sort of information we put out. We've also got our Instagram active now. We have our social media manager, AJ, who's we're running a game called the Academy of Xander coming up very, very soon, which has been described as sort of like a magical breakfast club or a Harry Potter but home for wayward kids sort of thing, where they're all students in this magic school doing stuff. So gonna be really interesting. We have our game on Friday nights for the Australian viewers on the Game on Australia channel, which is an Eberron campaign set before the war, where they were doing Magitech stuff and having a good time over there. So check that out. Producer Veg is the DM for that one. Monday nights we have the Humblewood campaign, 5e game, set in the super cute Humblewood world with some really, really amazing characters. Bree's done all the art for those. And finally, we've got this game coming, which will be at 9:30 p.m. on Fridays, Eastern Standard Time. And for Australian viewers, it'll be 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning. That's AWST. Right. Let's get you guys to plug yourselves before we go.
Yeah, so we are from Paradise RPG. You can find us on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram, podcast locations. We're all over the place. Our programming, we have on Monday nights, we have our flagship show, Advantage in Paradise, which is coming up on its 1-year anniversary. We got 2 more episodes, and then we're going to have been doing this for a whole year. We have not missed a Monday night, which I think is pretty cool. So that will be happening on Mondays. On Thursdays, actually Wednesdays, Clayton has started a new stream called Cardboard Contenders, where he plays Tabletop Simulator with a bunch of his friends. Our wizard, Clayton, is our wizard. And then on Thursdays, we have Relaxing in Paradise with this guy to my, I don't know where you are on screen, to one side. And he talks about his lore and his maps and crafts and makes things. And we play some Hellblade. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very relaxing. And then Sundays, we have the Tim and Shannon Power Hour, where we speculate on the previous episodes. We make predictions. That's what speculate means. It's not what I meant to say. We talk about recap. That's what I meant. We recap the last episode, then we speculate, and then we talk about, we talk with members of the D&D community about, we started a new segment called PhD&D, where we're diving deep into some D&D topics, and it's been a lot of fun. And did I miss anything?
Where can they find you?
You can find me at sruby25 on everything.
Yes, she's very hard to miss. You can also find me at Odo_Sean. And yeah, we have a lot of fun over at Paradise. If you are a big fan of the role-playing pillar of D&D, we do a lot of it in between very large bouts of battle, though.
That's true.
So check us out. It's a lot of fun, and we're all very excited to be part of this. Oh, and we are also starting a new programming that will be coming out in mid-October called One Shots in Paradise, where we will be having members of the community play with two of our Paradise cast. I was like, what do I say here? Cast, play,
people,
performer?
Paradise people.
Paradise Pokes. Paradise Pokes.
Paradise. Nope, that's
Pokes.
What it is now. Paradise Pokes. Nope, Paradise Pokes.
So that should be very exciting. It'll be our first official one with our very own Stefan as the DM for it and several members of the community. So keep an eye out for that.
It's gonna be great.
Alrighty. Lastly, before we go, I want to say thank you just once more to everyone that showed up, everyone that's followed, everyone that's sort of allowed us to keep making these games. It's a lot of fun to be able to do this, to spend so much time making these games and these worlds for you to enjoy. And with those thanks, I also want to put it to Hero Forge and Dungeon Vault once more for sponsoring this game and helping us do all this. They are both excellent companies if you want to get more sort of stuff for your role playing, whether you want digital maps or you want minis, which I'm sure the Paradise people can show one or two of them. You might have one somewhere nearby that you can hold up and show. I
have 4
okay.
nearby, 100%. Let's see. This is my newest Scarlet one. I haven't painted her yet, but here she is. And then this is I have 2 of my Rangers, my original D&D character. I need to give one of these to you, Sean. Hey!
Here's a painted Scarlet and
our
fighter Cal. Really excellent minis. Such great customization there. We have every single one of our characters for the stream done by Hero Forge. So definitely check them out. They're a great resource.
Yes. Thank you, Hero Forge.
Thank you, Hero Forge. We have loved being a part of what you're doing. And like I said, they just finished Kickstarter recently, which allows you to 3D print colored minis. And the painting of those on their website has been so much fun. It's in beta at the moment, so only if you were part of the Kickstarter do you have access to it, which I was, because it's awesome. But it will be coming very, very soon. I believe it's the 29th of September. I will put it on the Discord if I am right or wrong once I go check the email again. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone for showing up. I'm going to pass it to Producer Veg to find someone to raid that's part of the D&D community. So, Producer Veg, are you around?
I am here and loud, apparently.
Where is that voice coming from?
That amazing voice. Tonight, we are actually going to go raid our good friends here in WA, Nerds of the West, because they are actually online. We're online for once, which is nice to be able to pass it back to them. They're playing Among Us, which has become a very quick favorite of mine on Steam, where you can essentially lie about killing your friends. It's great fun. Yes, that's right. But before we do that, I wanted to play a little promo reel of our show that's launching on Thursday. So this is the promo reel for Academy of Xandar, starting on Thursday night, 8 p.m. WAST, so that's 8 a.m. Thursdays EST for you guys over in the States. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll pass you across for that raid, so watch the promo and stick around, and we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen and I am playing V. V is an elven rogue of the Shadow Kai variety. So she's a little bit evil, but in a sort of blasé sort of a way. V could be described as an undead rebel. She's very pale. A little bit of a bluish tinge in there, but she's got a cool tat in one hand, some piercings. She's way more punk rock than I am. V has an interesting relationship with her parents, so the fact that they think her going here is a good idea immediately rings some sort of alarm bell for her. But at the same time, she's open to new possibilities, new adventures, new things to steal.
Hi, I'm Nikolai and I will be playing Donnie Carbone. Donnie is a rebellious punk with a heart of gold and a tongue of silver. He is a con man in the streets of Elder York, but in the Academy of Xandar, he's just a student. Donnie is a tabaxi who looks like an alley cat that got into several fights that he's lost, with a little bit of like the regalness of a tiger mixed in. He's beaten and battered, but keeps his head high. He's recently had a bit of a fling with a beautiful archfey, who he thinks he is married to, but she has bestowed upon him many wondrous gifts, of which he is very curious to take advantage of.
Hi, I'm Tristan, and I will be playing Basil Beryllium, who is a human barbarian who is just ready to go out and experience the world. Big reveal! Oh, he's made of slime! He's a slime ooze man. Haha, gotcha. Basil Beryllium is an ooze that ate a boy and then turned into the boy and is just so chuffed about it. Basil looks like if James Potter had a sordid love affair with Shaggy Rogers from Scooby-Doo. Thick-rimmed glasses, little tiny spectacle lenses that he can adjust like a jeweler. Basil is made of ooze and slime and not meat, so he's worked really hard on making himself look like meat. So he's got eyes. They were the easiest thing to do because they're basically jelly. Skin was a little bit more difficult, but what he's really proud of is hair. So whenever he can, Basil looks like he's got just a little bit of stubble, but bad stubble, like baby's first stubble.
Hi, my name is Ed. I play Ty, who is a large snake man bard that just wants to make friends and jam out.
Jam out?
I don't know.
Okay.
Ty is a 7-foot long snake. He is green and yellow, big electric blue eyes. He looks very threatening, but upon closer inspection, you'll see that he's actually just a real happy-go-lucky snake that doesn't actually have a bad bone within him. So Ty doesn't really understand school. Where he's from, things are done very differently, but he also doesn't like his family and his society and where he grew up, so he's just excited to try something new and really get into the school environment and make friends and learn.